Hello everyone, I'm Chelsea Harris and I'm founder of this beautiful company Inspired Mama, and on the side I'm also mother to 4 energetic boys. As a businesswoman and a mum, I understand the challenges of trying to balance a successful career and your family life, especially when it comes to nutrition. My journey with health actually began with years of struggling with various diets and feeling very, very overwhelmed by the complexities of what I should and shouldn't eat and all these rules, let alone trying to even plan meals for my family. So my own personal experience and struggles, coupled with my own motherhood journey, actually led me to retrain as a health and mindset coach. I then became a personal trainer and I also became a nutrition coach. This allowed me to provide comprehensive support for working mothers. So for the past 7 years, I've been consulting, coaching and training women worldwide, offering streamlined health solutions and many nutrition programs. Our programs address the core challenges that women face when it comes to family nutrition. It's experiencing a lack of time, it's feeling stressed about the meal planning, and it's struggling to find a healthy balance between eating what you need so you can lose weight, but also just being able to eat what you want with your family as well and not feel like you're missing out. So today I'm really excited to talk about the crucial topic of nourishing our families while we're maintaining our sanity. And this is through streamlining the family nutrition planning process. In today's training, we're going to explore some really practical strategies that are going to allow you to make meal planning and preparation less overwhelming and more sustainable. We're also going to discuss some really key components on effective nutrition, meal planning, understanding the glycemic index, overcoming those common challenges that women face when trying to lead life, be busy and get it all done within minutes after work. And I'm going to teach you a balanced approach that is going to be unique to your family situation. I'm going to share some really actionable tips that are going to help you optimize your meal preparation and help you make more informed choices around your food. We're also going to identify those sneaky obstacles that can derail our best efforts when it comes to family nutrition. And by the end of this training, you're going to have some practical steps to create a more balanced, nutritious, stress-free approach to your family meals. So if you're ready to transform your family's nutrition journey, I am so excited to have you on board, and let's dive in. What we're talking about today is streamlining the family nutrition process. Now, nutrition is one of those things that women find really overwhelming. And I think that's because most of us have tried something before you get to this point, right? I only work with ladies above 34 and above. And most of the women, they come to me, they're serious about making changes. They've tried a heap of diets. They've tried keto. They've tried cutting full food groups. They've been to their doctor. They've probably had conversations. They're worried if it's their hormones. They feel like they're exercising. They're not losing weight and they're ready to make a difference. And they actually want to create something sustainable. But one of the most stressful parts of that process is the nutrition. Because when you're a single human and you're planning for yourself, you can live off shakes and you can cut your carbs completely. And you can fast from 16 hours a day or do a 500 calorie day. And you can do all these ridiculous approaches because you're a single woman. But once we become mums, we actually want to teach our kids something different. And I'm sure that most of you would all say, I don't want to teach my kids to be the person who can't participate or can't go out socially. When it comes to fasting, most mums don't want to teach their kids that. Most people don't want to be that role model. And so it changes, the game changes. And so that's why we're here, to work out how can you streamline the family nutrition planning process for yourself, but also for your kids, and have everyone on board. Just make it easier. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about meal preparation, the challenges that we face. We're going to talk about the glycemic index of foods. So I want you to do a second to reflect on, when it comes to your meal planning and your preparation, what are some of the biggest challenges or obstacles that you currently face when trying to maintain a balanced or nutritious diet? Most of the challenges that women currently face when they're trying to meal plan is, the first one is that they overplan. So they're trying to create all these new recipes, which is quite overwhelming. They have a whole heap of new ingredients that they have to buy. They have to then follow a new recipe every single night. The first time they cook it, they're trying to manage life and they're trying to cook these recipes, and it's quite overwhelming. This means that women are often too optimistic as to what they think that they're going to be able to cook across their week, and this ends up in food wastage as well. The other thing is not knowing if you're going to like it or if your family's going to eat it. This is often a problem because people can overwhelm themselves with thinking, oh, I'm going to try this with the family, I'm going to try this. But the problem is, if you try too many new recipes and then you don't like them and you're getting your family fight up against you, then what you're going to find is that you're going to get over it pretty quickly. So what I have spoken about before is ideally having your set meals, which you know your family's going to eat, ones that you can modify, which you know the kids are going to be happy with, and you could just serve it on green beans, or you could have it with edamame pasta, or you might have it with lentil papadums. You might have alternatives that you can serve a meal that they're willing to eat. And then maybe cooking one new recipe a week, maybe one a fortnight, depending on how your family are handling it. But if you're finding that it's causing a whole heap of grief, then it's probably best to peel it back and only go for one new recipe a fortnight. Don't overwhelm yourself, because it does get, I suppose, frustrating and quite depressing when you're trying to serve these new meals to your family. You're trying to get everyone on board and people aren't supporting it. The next thing is thinking it.
when thinking what it's going to be like when it's defrosted. Sometimes we're freezing things with the best intentions that when we defrost them from our freezer, we're going to love them. And then we defrost them and it's like this watery, disgusting mess. And we're like, I don't want to eat that anyway. And so we've gone to all this effort to cook this thing and then we don't want to eat the damn meal. So sometimes that's a real problem as well. Like knowing, is this going to be okay once I've frozen it? There's nothing else to go to. If you're someone that had time to then whip something up, you're probably going to end up eating crackers or something like that out of the pantry, aren't you? Also, sometimes for women, the challenge is the amount of time it takes to cook it. If it's something for me that must be marinated the night before or needs prior preparation, you know how they like put this on it and put it in the fridge for a couple of hours? I'm like, no, mate, not going to happen. If I can put that marinade on and cook it straight away, it's just not going to happen for me. So the time taken can make me feel really quite disinterested in the concept. I won't even cook a roast because the concept of having to think like 2.5 hours before and put this thing in the oven that's just too hard for me. I feel like it has to be succinct and it's all happening back to back because when I'm in the kitchen, I want to have it now and I want to pump it out. Many people can hate cooking and find it a real chore, but feeling like you spend so much time in the kitchen and it's like overwhelming the amount of lunches you have to make or the amount of food that you have to prepare. And then when it comes home in the lunchbox or they don't want to eat it or something, you're like, I've just spent so much time doing this. And it's such food waste as well, which can be massive as well. So what happens when we don't have a meal plan? When we don't have a meal plan, we feel like this woman. What's this woman doing? This woman is like racing home and she is about to jump from her work to her place. Her hands are free and she's feeling like, my God, I've got nothing with me and I somehow have to cook a meal. This is how we feel when we finish work and we don't have a meal plan. It's like time crunched meal planning. You feel like you need to be sick, but it's like it's the worst feeling in the world. So there's so many things that come into play when a woman is trying to find foods to eat on the fly. And if you're someone who works quite a lot of hours and then you're having to cook last minute all the time, it is a nightmare. There's nothing like looking in the pantry, looking in the fridge, looking back in the pantry, having no inspiration, and then the kid saying to you, Mum, what's for dinner? And you're like, nothing. I've got no clue, kid. You're in it with me. It's eggs on toast. But that's what happens when you're juggling multiple responsibilities. It's really overwhelming. You've got childcare, you've got the household chores, you've got work, you've got all these other commitments. And the last thing you want to think about is food. But the problem is food, we are eating food multiple times a day. And it's a very time consuming thing because there's so much thought that goes into food before we actually eat it. There's also for mothers, we have to consider picky eaters or dietary restrictions. If you've got a child like mine who happens to be allergic to nearly everything under the sun, you've got eggs, peanuts, wheat, dairy, grass, and dust. That's one of them. And then the other one we've just found is also allergic to wheat and eggs. Sweet, loving it, great. So those sorts of considerations are so annoying because most of the foods that I want to cook, I can't cook anything to do with eggs or any frittatas or anything that's easy. You can't just give the kids scrambled eggs. It doesn't work like that. And let's be honest, this time crunch meal planning, when we feel like we're soaring through the air, it really comes down to us planning in advance and having great time management. Now, this is something that all has to be done in advance. Otherwise, what happens is we're like racing to the stores. Now, what makes us race to the stores? This here. It's like we finish the workday. The first question do we ask ourselves is, do I already know what I want to eat? If the answer is no, you're looking at frozen food, pizza, chips, pies, or takeaway. Let's be honest. This is the boat you're in, right? The next one is, do I know what I eat, but do I have the ingredients? It's like also a no. Where you're going to end up? Frozen foods like pizza, chips, pies, and takeaway. The next one is this going to be easy? And is it going to take me under 30 minutes? No. Where are you going to end up? Frozen chips, pizza, pies, and takeaway. Can you see how easy this is to end up in this location? So we need it to be a lot of yeses. We need to know what we're going to eat. We need to have the ingredients in the house, and we need to make sure that those meals are easy to put on the table, preferably in under 30 minutes. That's what makes a homemade dinner. That's what makes that woman who was flying through the sky actually want to go home and cook. So this temptation tug of war that we face as mums when we're meal planning, we face the tug of war of, is this convenient? Can I do this quickly? Is there any nutritional value in this beige food, which I'm about to throw in the air fryer? Let's be honest. Kids want to eat beige foods, right? And if you go to a party, they're always beige foods. Why? Because it's cheap, it's easy, it can be prepared really fast, and all those things, just people love them, but they're full high fat, sugar, sodium. All those fast food pre-packaged meals are quite tempting over these healthier food choices, simply out of convenience. That's why when I talk about having takeaway options that are quick and ready to go in your freezer is really important, because as I was showing in that table before, if you've got something that you've got all the ingredients for it and you can be on the table in 30 minutes, even if it's a fake away, it's going to be better than a takeaway option, or the pies or the chips or the whatever else you're going to put in the air fryer or the oven. So we have temptation tug of war. We're constantly like, is it convenient? Is it nutritional? Do I actually want to eat this thing? Can I get on the table quick enough? Is anybody in my family going to eat it? what? There's a lot going on for us, right? Absolutely. And the problem is that this can actually cause quite a lot of stress. So the amount of stress that women can experience around dinner time and feeding their kids can be huge, because one, you don't want to put everything on the table and then nobody will want to eat it and you end up cooking something else. And then this stress actually causes emotional eating for mothers as well, because they feed you dinner and they're like, thank God, and all they want to do is eat sugar, because they're like, all I have to do is deal with the pile of dishes, eat sugar, and my life will get better because they'll all go to sleep soon. So true. It's really hard. It's this temptation tug-of-war that we're constantly in, trying to balance this meal plan plus keep everyone happy. Now, the next one is nutritional imbalance. When you're that woman and you're flying into Woolworths and you've got that basket under your arm and you're getting whatever you can't tell me that you only shop from the outside of Woolworths and Coles. You are shopping up and down these aisles, which is where all of this nutritional imbalance is. You know it, right? All this packaged stuff. And that's why I'm teaching you guys how to read nutritional tables and ingredients lists. That's why I'm getting you to look through that and learn how to read that. Now, as I've shown you, and when you go into week 1 of acceleration, there is the nutritional table. It teaches you how to read the whole nutritional table. Australia is the only country in the world where every single product in the store has a per 100 grams column. And the reason why we have that is because every single product then has a per 100 grams column, and you can compare them all really easily. So you have a per 100 grams column. You can compare every single yogurt, pasta, package of anything, and you can find the best that you can possibly find. But let's be honest, when you're racing into the shops and you're trying to get something last minute, you're probably not checking out the nutritional tables. That's why it's a good idea if you've got set products that you're used to buying, you know what's good. We've done some research in advance, and then you can cook with those. And also you've got some ideas as to what's best to put in your trolley. That's why you either flick it to the group, put it in the group chat, send it to me, but do some research when you have a little bit of downtime so that you can eat on the fly. So ideally we want to get to this point where we're prioritizing nutritionally dense foods over these really quick, easy packaged foods, which we can throw together for the family. Ideally, we don't have to compromise our nutrition, but that does require a little bit of planning, or making sure that we have things in the pantry, in the freezer, or ready to go, that we've always got some kind of stock. So what do women want? Ideally, they want to create this efficient and stress-free meal preparation. They want to have balanced nutrition and feel like they can also indulge, but they also want to experience this optimal health and weight. And guess what? You can have those things, but you do have to make sure that your house is stocked with food so that you can prepare something, you've got the ingredients, and you can make it under 30 minutes. Ideally, I would like you to get to the point where you're cooking 2 to 3 times a week, where you have heaps of leftovers, where you've got freezer stock with a rotation of different meals in it that you can pull from, where you feel like you've got this balance between the pink, the blue, and the orange that keeps you mentally sane. And I'm going to talk about that later in the presentation. Where you get into a habit where you're probably putting on a slow cooker at least once a week or once a fortnight, whether you put it on the night before and then you wake up to a hot meal, or you put it on the morning before you go to work and you get home and you've got a hot meal. And that needs to be geared for where you find that you're generally coming home and you want to get takeaway. Think about that in advance, but we will map that out in just a moment. And you need to have heaps of variety in your diet without spending a fortune, which is why sometimes you have to meal plan from the stuff that's in your pantry. Don't just go, oh, this is what I want in the app. Sometimes it's going, what do I actually have in my house? And what can I use up? Because sometimes you have veggies left over, or you have tin stuff left over, and you can just search all those ingredients straight into the app. It'll show you the recipes with all that stuff in it. And so you can use some of that stuff up to save some money, but also to get some of that stuff out of your house. Others, it might sit in the back of your pantry and go into the abyss and live there forever. So ladies, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer this question. When you find yourself falling into old habits or struggling with unhealthy food choices, what strategies or techniques have you found have been helpful in getting you back on track? I talk about how you need to make sure that your kitchen and your home is laid out in a way that facilitates great habits. So in regards to cleaning up the food or something like that, you might have to put a pause on it, or put Post-its in your kitchen, or sticky tape a Post-it on the kitchen bench just for a week to which it catches your eye as you go to do it. You've got to do something that's going to basically grab your attention as you go to do that thing, like thought pattern. You don't have to do it for long, but when there's people who are emotional eaters and they keep all their snacks in the same place all the time, or they, like for myself, for example, I used to come home from student services, I used to put my handbag on the bench and go straight to the fridge, grab my wine out of the fridge, straight over to the wine glass, and then pour myself a wine. And the habit played out so quickly that I didn't even realize that I was doing it. But what happens is women can walk into their pantry and they look into the same spot every time, or they walk into their kitchen, if the cookies are in the same spot, they look in the same spot every time. Or if you're in the habit, like when you're walking from picking up your kids' food to walking to the bin, it happens in the same space all the time. You're 7 seconds into that. So you count 7 seconds out. It's a really long time.
Yeah.
Sandwich on. Yeah, that's the problem. So you've got to break the thought pattern. So what do we want to get to the point at? We want to get to this point where we feel like we're meal mapping for mastery. Now, isn't that a mouthful? Meal mapping for mastery. But we want to feel like we're creating this weekly plan. And if we can find one that works for our family, you might have given days. So you might say, okay, every Tuesday, we're going to do Mexican, or Mexican on a Monday, whatever. Slow cooker on a Thursday, bake away on a Friday, a bulk cook on a Sunday. So I've got lunch buffers for the Monday. I'm going to make sure it's on the dinner in under 20 minutes on the Tuesday because I have a long day at work. I know that this evening I've got extracurricular activities on a Wednesday. It's not ideal for me to cook there. So I might put something in the oven on a Tuesday night when I do my 20-minute meal, and then my dinner's sorted for the Wednesday night. But you actually have to start to look ahead and go, what actually works for my family unit and what can I implement? And then you have to plan based on that. You've got to really think about, okay, what are my family's needs? What do they actually like to eat? What works based on my time and my demands? And then what can I have in the house that are non-perishable items, or like stock up on those staples, so that if I'm time poor and I want to throw something together really quickly, I've got some ideas off the top of my head which I can do and have on the table in 15 or 20 minutes. So it's more likely. A big thing about this meal plan is that you need to make sure you're able to overcome that deprivation mindset. There's nothing worse than looking down this dark tunnel and thinking, I'm never going to eat anything good ever again. And that's what I used to do with myself. Whenever I joined programs, I'd be like, I'm just going to be really good for 6 weeks. No socializing, no chocolate, no lollies, no champagne. I was like cutting off my left arm. And so you have to start to think, okay, like when can I factor in those meals that make me feel sane? How frequently do I have to have them? Because it's different for everybody. And then work out that you don't really want it to be more than 3 or 4 days. 4 days is a lot. I feel like 4 days is a large chunk. So if you're planning your next orange treat or your next balanced meal about 4 days off, then that's always mentally manageable. Anything beyond that, and you're going to find that you just stretch too far. The next one is that you need to know what you're eating. And that's why in Momentum and Acceleration, we do so much work around training you about nutrition, what it does to our body, how it impacts your hormones, mental health, brain fog, clarity, weight, all those things. Because a lot of people, honestly, women tell me when they come into Acceleration, I'm really healthy. I eat really well. And the second they go through and they talk to me about their diet in the call, I'm normally like, it needs work. But I can't say that because they don't know me yet. I don't want them to run away. So I'm like, okay, we can tweak it. That's why in the Acceleration, we move through it slowly. It's like week 1, we look at the pantry cleanse. Week 2, you start to understand how the meals are planned out in the app and how the nutritionist is putting them in there for you so that you can understand why we do and put what meals where we do. And then we start to talk about the carbs, the fats, and the proteins. And then we start to look at the glycemic index of foods in week 3. And you start to do food diary with the nutritionist Shalini. And the reason why we do that is because the more knowledge and understanding you have about what works for me, what can I map out and plan out based on how I eat, the foods I like to eat, what works for my family and my time constraints, and so I don't experience deprivation mindset, the longer you can stick this out and see this through. So let's talk about the glycemic index. This is a massive part of the program. There's many things that are impacted by the foods that we eat. And those high glycemic foods, or those orange foods, as we refer to it in the program, are the ones that are spiking our blood sugar. Now, what happens when we spike our blood sugar? Our blood sugar spikes, as you can see, it's jumped up there and then it's dropping down really quickly. But it takes a lot of energy from our body to try and get it back to that very bottom dotted baseline. So when it spikes really high here, your body has to do a whole heap of work to try and get it back to here. Now, obviously, everything that we eat spikes our foods in some respect. What happens is, obviously, the lower it is on the glycemic index, the less it's going to make our body spike, and the more that we can use that energy for other things. Now, what happens is when we get so much sugar or carbs that is pushed into our system and our body's blood sugar levels spike like this, our body goes, what am I going to do with all of this? And then what it does is it takes all those and it stores it as fat. That's why those orange foods aren't ideal. And then when we find that when we're spiking, our body is going to be constantly storing more fat. That's why we need to reduce the amount of orange meals that we're having. It also messes with our hormones because these orange foods exacerbate symptoms associated with PCOS, our PMS. It makes menopause worse. It also lowers our nutrient absorption. Not good, team. It can also cause gestational diabetes. And would you believe, this is the worst one of the lot, I believe, because I really want to look young when I'm like 70. It actually makes you age quicker and causes chronic disease. So when you eat orange foods, that's what it does to age you quicker, okay? Because it's so taxing on your body. So what happens, obviously, is foods sit somewhere on the glycemic index. Once you start to eat over a certain portion, it pushes it into the next category. So if we're looking at the blue column there and we're looking at brown rice, once you eat over half a cup of brown rice, it actually starts to push it into the orange. Because, of course, you're filling your body with more carbs. Your blood sugar has more carbohydrates in it. And what does your body have to do? It has to store it as fat. So you can see that's what's happening, right? So that's why I've written in there, it's pretty straightforward. Most of it's half a cup. Notice that some things in this category haven't got anything written beside them, like tomatoes tomato, barbecue sauce, sweetened condiments, candy, chips, cookies. Okay. Because it doesn't matter how much you have. I'm probably going to say orange. Now, the other thing that's quite exciting is Shalini's been putting together a big list of the lowest sugar ice creams, the lowest sugar chocolate, the lowest sugar treats, the lowest sugar. She's going mad. She's going through Woolworths and Coles and finding the lowest sugar and all the brands. She's going to put together a big list and we're going to flick it out to you guys. So you've got an idea if you want to buy this stuff, opt for this and this. And it's always just all those 1%ers help add up in the long run, right? And you can eat a little bit more. All right. What I've done here is I've written what I recommend for each of the lines here. So why do I want you to really focus on your protein and your fat intake? One, your protein is what's going to help you build your muscle mass, speed up your metabolism, and also keep you fuller for longer. It actually keeps you satiated for longer. So if you find that you feel like you're always hungry, you're probably not eating enough protein. And women need approximately 25 grams every 2 to 3 hours. So quite frequently, that's why I'm always saying with your snacks, add protein. With your lunch, add protein. Snacks, again, add protein. And if you find that you're having longer gaps between your meals, have more protein in your previous meals so that you eat in your breakfast so it lasts you longer or whatever. The next thing is adding fat to your food actually helps you digest the macro and micronutrients and also slows the food down your digestive tract. So adding fats to your food is really important. So obviously in your breakfast, you can add chia seeds, peanut butter, any type of nut butter, coconut oil, avocado. You could cook with olive oil if you wanted to make scrambled eggs. That's an easy way to get fats into your breakfast. With your lunches, you could make a homemade dressing and put that on, whether it was like roasted vegetables or your salad or whatever, if it's something simple. You could put nuts in your meal. You could make sure you cook with plenty of oil. Now, something that I'm not scared of, you know how people get really crazy about like cooking with oil? I'm not scared about it. When I used to be overweight and I was always trying to count calories, I was really big on stressing about the oil and putting a teaspoon or a tablespoon in the bottom of the pan before I cooked. Now I'm like, get in there and eat it. It's good for your hair. It's good for your nails. It slows the food down your digestive tract. Your body needs the good fat. So don't be scared of it. Don't go swimming in it. Don't be scared of it. The next thing is for your lunches, make sure that there is at least 25 grams of protein minimum. Also your good fats there. And then with your lunches, you need to start to think, okay, do I need low glycemic carbs in my lunches because it gets me through the rest of the day and I actually have energy? Or am I happy to have a no carbs lunch, which is the pink meal, of course, and then eat my carbs with my family in the evenings? You got to work out what works best for you. Same with the dinner. Now, ideally, you want to get to a point where you're having pink and blue kind of alternated for your lunch and your dinners. And then for your snacks, I've written there the note, at least 25 grams of protein. Ideally, have it under 100 grams and make sure that there's fat in your snacks as well. Okay, so what I've done there, I've done the colors and I've done my recommendations on it. High glycemic index foods, obviously. The less, the better. Am I going to tell you to cut them out completely? No, because you'll lose your mind. The deprivation mindset will be real. So everybody's amount of orange foods that they need to consume is different. And also, guys, it can vary from week to week. Okay. Sometimes I'll have weeks where I only eat 2 or 3 orange meals. And sometimes I need the 6 and that's it. I just need the 6. And sometimes the tokens are bigger and that's okay too. The more high glycemic index meals that you consume, just know that your blood sugar levels are going to be spiked. It's going to mess with your energy. It's going to make weight management so much harder. It's going to make the odds of you having risk to diabetes so much higher. It could have the possibility of having cardiovascular disease. It's also higher. So these foods are not good for us. Our body does not like them. And cutting them out, like eating from the yellow, the pink and the blue, improves our mood, improves our cognitive function and just our overall well-being. We don't have those blood fluctuations. So our body's not fighting to try and stabilize it all the time. So with the orange foods, obviously, the closer you get to your goal weight, the less orange meals you can have. I'm sorry. Unless you want to exercise more. That's what it comes down to. Exercise more, right? But ideally, you've got to try and have 6 and under a week pretty consistently. You've got to consider the size of the token. KFC, pizza, chicken palmy, they're pretty large tokens. You can't have 3 of them across a week and think, oh, I'm still going to lose weight because I'm under my 6. Might go eat a bag of lollies now and a whole block of chocolates. No love. I wish that was the case. Trust me, it doesn't work like that. Okay, so you might have one big token, which is the love of your life, and then the rest you might have to make sure that they're smaller tokens. Okay, with the medium glycemic foods there, ideally you want to have 6 or less blue meals across the week. If you're someone who's getting closer to your goal weight, you might want to cut that down to 4 or 3 blue meals across the week. Then the pink meals, basically fill up the rest of the gaps with your pink meals, ideally as much as possible. And then your yellow, I've created an entire category of its own for breakfast, because if you can have low breakfast, which are high in protein, high in fats, it's just so beneficial in the fact that it actually stops you from eating more throughout the day. It stabilizes your blood sugar levels in the morning, and you actually eat less for the rest of the day as a result of that, having that for breakfast. So that's really important. It's just getting you into the habit of having that. That's why we have a whole color for that, because then you can see that consistently occurring across your week. People get much better results. Now, the other thing I find, the women who do the best are the ones who sit down with next week's meal plan and they go, okay, what am I eating next week? They throw it into their food diary box, they color code it, and they go, that's what I'm eating next week. And then if it changes, it doesn't matter. But when you see the colors and you're like, I've planned out when my oranges are going to be, I know when my blues are going to be, I know when I need something that's on the table under 20 minutes, I know when I'm going to put it on the slow cooker. You've got your map out. It's actually something that you're like, okay, this is going to work for me. And also women do so much better because they can see, I have plenty of oranges coming. I've got plenty of blue meals. It's okay. I can have the breakfast here and I'm still going to have the breakfast that I absolutely love on the Sunday morning. And they feel like there's more of a balance.
Thank you so much for joining me in this session on streamlining your family nutrition. I really hope you found some of these strategies valuable and you're feeling empowered to take control of your family meals and your nutrition and preparation. Now, if you'd like more access to more of my free trainings, please head over to inspiredmama.com. There you'll find a wealth of resources that are designed to help you reduce your stress, improve your time management, and reduce your fatigue. It's also going to allow you to elevate your family's overall health. Now, if you want to stay connected and get daily tips and inspiration on family nutrition and wellness, please follow me on social media. You'll find me on Instagram at Chels_inspired mama. On YouTube, you can search Inspired Mama, or on Facebook, it's Inspired Mama_Chels. Or if you'd like to know more about our incredible programs, please go to inspiredmama.com where you can have a look at the programs that we have available, particularly around our family nutrition, which is called Nourish and Thrive. However, that aside, if you're looking for some free support to implement what you've learned today and beyond, I invite you to join the Inspired Mama support group on Facebook. This is a beautiful community where my team and I nurture and support busy mums like you on your journey to a healthier, happier life. Remember, ladies, that these small changes that you can implement today to your family nutrition are going to lead to big results. If you're able to start implementing these strategies, you'll be able to watch how they transform your family's eating habits and just your overall well-being. Thank you, Topher, so much for taking the time and giving your attention. And here's to everyone thriving and living your most inspired and healthy life.